So, Zenless Zone Zero has just gave up. And this is 100% right. Because it's time to give up being a man and become a boy. Cause we got Mommy Yidhari, the big sister Oneg Lucia. It's time to drop all your responsibility and demanding milk with Goo Goo Gaga. I mean, like, even the boss's mommy, they're getting more and more shameless.
確か一撃必殺
So 2.2 is right in the corner. We got Evelyn Trigger rerun, and we got the Oboe squad like the Seed and Orpheus. And I'm pretty sure that the announcement of Lucia probably ruined a lot of people's pooling plan. If I remember it correctly, there were this person who trying to like save from MySkip 6 Vivian suddenly changed his plan to pool for the Yixuan MySkip 6. And I guess this is probably one of those cases where the announcement of release changed the whole trajectory of the pool plan. Cause if we take a look into Lucia's class and her element, it is support! And it's Ether! Like what the heck, miHoYo? We just got Astra, who is basically the strongest support in the entire game. And now we got another support with Ether. It took me 5 seconds to realize that, oh, this is probably a Rupture support. The sheer force support. Cause ever since Yixuan released, everyone has been talking about Yixuan is lacking of a dedicated support. Basically, it's the panda at the time. But I guess this panda is now facing the same fate as the Cess, who was a prominent support for Jane Doe at the time. But with the release of better and better support, the A-rank support would never ever be outclassed the S-rank support. And with the release of Rupture agent like Manato and the Yidhari, I think there's no more obvious sign than these that she's gonna be a sheer force support. And I wouldn't be surprised if Lucia could increase the max HP for the team, as she's a dedicated sheer support and Yixuan benefit from max HP by turning them into the damage. But what I'm worried about Lucia is that, is she gonna be one of those niches characters like the Lighter, or she's gonna be more of a generalist like the Astra Yao, or maybe someone like Yusuha. She could technically use in pretty much any team, but she's not gonna be the best option aside from the Anomaly team. If she's more of a generalist, then you could pull for her without the Rupture. But if she gives a lot of sheer power and very little buff on the other stuff, then pulling her with Rupture is pretty much a must. Just like Lighter, who is heavily rely on the fire DPS, you will simply wasting a lot of potential for not pairing her with the Rupture. But however, when you are pulling for Lucia, you would probably get Manato. So I don't think she would be completely useless, even if you don't have any Rupture DPS on your hand, while you are waiting for Yidhari on the second half of Banner. She's an Ice Rupture DPS, basically swinging a hammers. Man, the mommy vibe of these characters is so freaking strong. If you're looking for an agent to play Goo Goo Baby game, I think she's probably the best choice for you. Anyway, both of them got really good Psy. I think we should be worrying about the Psy creeping rather than the power creeping in this game. And this is the indisputable fact, numbers, and math that's once again proof saying Tontus is wrong about power creeping. I don't think she's gonna be better than the Miyabi, cause she doesn't have the Void Hunter tag beside her. Any DPS agent in the game should be the waifu pool if they don't have the Void Hunter tag. And I think it's a pretty good method for casual and beginners to decide who to pull and who is not to pull. And yeah, since Lucia is a dedicated sheer power support, you should definitely pull Yidhari along with Lucia to get the full potential out of them. So yeah, make sure to save enough polychrome for that. And generally for an S-rank DPS, the W Wenjin is pretty much a must. I could see some okay synergy with the Lycon, and maybe okay synergy with Lighter, but the additional ability of Lighter wouldn't be able to proc, so it's pretty much a waste of potential, even though pairing Lighter with the Yidhari should be pretty decent. And with the release of the new set, Dawn's Broom, it basically increased 55% of basic attack. So I think we could expect that Yidhari is probably gonna be dedicated basic attack characters, just like Soldier 11, Zhu Yuan, and Alan Zhou. And I think all of them could practically benefit from this 4 set a lot, especially for the Soldier 11, cause as compared to a set like Woodpecker, it just need a lot to proc the full potential of it. The buff management would be so much easier with this set, but I think it's still too early to tell whether it's gonna be better or worse than set like Woodpecker or the Ether 4 set for the Zhu Yuan specifically. Anyway, talking about the new set, Moonlight Lullaby is going to be the best 4 set for pretty much any support aside from Astra that could fully utilize the Astral Voice. The buff that it provides is just crazy. It gives 80% damage increase to all members. Like, goodbye Astral Voice 4 set. Cause the problem of Astral Voice is that if you don't have enough quick assist, you're not gonna be able to get that 24% attack buff. You would only get 16% attack buff. And on top of that, you got extra 20% energy regen. And imagine using it along with 2 set Swing Jazz, which increase 20% energy. It's gonna be insane. And by the way, if you're playing Mono Ice Yusuha team, definitely don't swap the Mastery 2 set off. It's not worth it, or she gonna shoot on you with water gun. Now let's look into the new Oboe squad that's about to join the game. Seed and Orpheus. And after looking into their kit, Seed feels more like a generalist. She's gonna have higher team flexibility, while Orpheus could only tie to the Aftershock DPS like both Anby and Seed. So she's not gonna have a loss of team flexibility unless they release more Aftershock DPS in the future. Seed actually feels more like a quick swappy characters. You could look at her as a DPS/support. As they said on the special life, she could work as an on-field DPS. I mean, they literally said it after explaining how good of a support she is. So the line is definitely ambiguous, but I would assume that she's gonna be less offensive than Yanagi, who is also a DPS/support, but taking more on-field time than Vivian, who is more of a off-field support who takes a little bit more of on-field time by getting the defensive assist. You get what I mean. I think she's somewhat in between that. Or else, how are she gonna work with other DPS? She should be able to function without a loss of on-field time. Cause if she ends up taking a loss of on-field time, which is a very variable resource for the on-field DPS, it would be a fundamental design mistake. So that's my take on the Seed. TLDR, you should be fine pulling for Seed as long as you have any DPS on the team. And I would wager that she's gonna be better partner for Anby Zero than Orpheus for a very simple reason. She is an electric attribute, and we don't have any boss that has fire and electric weakness coexisting. Unless we have boss like that, there won't be a proper spot for Orpheus to function. Even though on paper, without looking at attribute, Orpheus is a better support because she could buff the aftershock damage, which is the main source of Anby's DPS. So I do think Orpheus right now is actually at a pretty weird spot, like I'm not gonna lie. I don't see any reason why would she has those kit if they are not going to release another Aftershock on-field DPS in the future that is not electric attribute. And no, this big mommy boss is not gonna be the fire and electric weakness. As you could see, it's electric and physical. Anyway, with so many support releasing, I think Trigger is not a must pull for Anby and the Oboe squad team. Especially with a lots of really great support stunner like Jufufu, Astra, Yusuha, or even Lighter. We have very sufficient amounts of support, and you could even use Nicole, even though she's harder to use. So Anby Zero and the Oboe squad in this meta doesn't really rely on Trigger as much as when she was released it. But if you already have her, you could pull for her signature, then you pull for her Mindscape 1. You're gonna see a really huge power improvement on Anby, or Oboe squad in general. Last but not least, Evelyn. She is literally the strongest DPS aside from the Void Hunter team. You could brute force with Evelyn at ease if you have agent like Lighter, Astra Yao, or even Ju Fufu. By having only one of them is already good enough for you to consistently get a 20k on the Deadly Assault. But do get her signature weapon. I would be lying if I said you don't need her signature, cause that's how Zenless Zone Zero function at the moment. Any DPS would need their signature. So in conclusion, the worst case scenario is you are not pulling with a team in your mind. The overall performance of a team is heavily tied to the team composition. Like you want to have Anby before you pull for Seed, or you want to pull for both Orpheus and Seed together. You want to go all in one team. And if you're pulling for Lucia, you want to pull her with Rupture DPS, especially like Yixuan, and of course the Yidhari. So it is deadly important to make your pull decision as a team. You either pull for a whole team, or you skip the entire team. And I think that's pretty much it, and see ya guys, man.